We ask members of the First Presidency to please arise. It is proposed that the First Presidency sustain Russell Marion Nelson as prophet, seer, and revelator, and President of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
And a major city yet to be determined in Russia. My dear brothers and sisters, how grateful I am for the marvelous messages of this conference, and for my privilege to speak with you now. For the more than 36 years I've been an apostle, the doctrine of the gathering of Israel has captured my attention. Everything about it has intrigued me, including the ministries and names of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, their lives and their wives, the covenant God made with them and extended through their lineage, the dispersion of the 12 tribes, and the numerous prophecies about the gathering in our day. I have studied the gathering, prayed about it, feasted upon every related scripture, and asked the Lord to increase my understanding. So imagine my delight when I was led recently to a new insight. With the help of 2 Hebrew scholars, I learned that one of the Hebraic meanings of the word Israel is "let God prevail." This is not the church of Joseph Smith, nor is it the Church of Mormon. This is the Church of Jesus Christ. Unprecedented times call for unprecedented measures. My dear brothers and sisters, these are the latter days. If you and I are to withstand the forthcoming perils and pressures, it is imperative that we each have a firm spiritual foundation built upon the rock of our Redeemer, Jesus Christ.
Travis Wayne Goodsell. It is recognized that the majority of you have no clue who I am, and you're likely coming to this video for the first time, or you're somewhat new within the past year. The majority of my so-called subscribers are dead. I've been doing videos on YouTube on Travis Wayne Goodsell first. You go to the home page, you scroll down, you'll see the channel link. I shouldn't have to tell people this. You guys should be experts at knowing YouTube and how it works and how to search for things. But nonetheless, just in case there's a few who are new to YouTube. Those in my generation, you know, what is this newfangled technology? Why can't we have the tin can? Work just fine as kids. You'd have to get a long enough string, but and hope nobody breaks it. Would it go that far? That would be an interesting experiment. We did it in Boy Scouts, but I'm digressing. I'm pulling an old man stunt because there's a lot of stuff to talk about. And the younger generation of whippersnappers are completely and utterly clueless because they're the younger generation. But they think they know it all. You know, they've been born and raised in the church, gone on missions, and so now they think they know it all. Oh, that was a good segue into that, but did I want to do that? I guess so. Alright, so studying your scriptures is what we're supposed to do, right? Mormons, ex-Mormons. Mormons accuse ex-Mormons of falling away from the church because they didn't study their scriptures. Well, guess what, Mormons? You pulled a beam and mote. If you don't know what that is, well, you didn't study your scriptures. It's also referred to a form called projection, where you accuse someone of what you yourself are guilty of. And there's a Doctrine and Covenants, or Deuteronomy passage in chapter 19 that warns against doing such accusations, because the punishment you seek for the one you are falsely accusing is the punishment you are supposed to have. And that brings us to Purim. But I'm getting ahead of myself now, because Purim is next Thursday. But we're discussing it in this video. And case in point, to show that Mormons don't know their scriptures, and the reason why ex-Mormons had a faith crisis and left the church, is because neither side, you know, ex-Mormons were Mormon. Mormons don't study their scriptures. So ex-Mormons are Mormons who had a faith crisis because they didn't study their scriptures, exactly as Mormons explain, but Mormons aren't studying their scriptures and are coming out as the dumb ones for not having a faith crisis. They're living in denial of the faith crisis that they're supposed to be having. 1 Nephi chapter 1 verse 2. What is the learning of the Jews concerning the Christ of Mormonism? Pop quiz, hotshot. Oh, right, that's one of my older, or that's one of the older generation movies by Keanu Reeves, or is it Reeves? Who I guess did another series of The Matrix. It just came out on, or is coming out on DVD soon. I'm financially ruined, so I'm a little behind on things now. The church destroyed me. So Mormons go around claiming to all the world, as missionaries, as Mormons on the internet, social media, that Mormons are Christian and they believe in Jesus Christ. And that the Book of Mormon is true, and yet don't have a clue that 1 Nephi chapter 1 verse 2 that was funny. Oh, it's one of those mornings. That the learning of the Jews is not Christian, and the Christ isn't Jesus. But Jesus is in the Book of Mormon by name. Yeah. So is it a contradiction? Is it a screw up by the authors? Is the Book of Mormon not true? See, Christians read the Book of Mormon and go, aha! We knew you were Christian because the Christian Trinity Jesus is here. Yeah, no. Nope. Nope, nope, nope. See, what that passage is referring to is a key to decoding the Book of Mormon. Or rather, another clue. Another clue. That's the Gates family legacy. Well, maybe it's dad or sons who disappoint their dads. Do I look pregnant? Did Bigfoot take it? It's good to be back with an internet that will allow me to upload at a quicker speed. It sucks to be you, though. And Kruger is awesome, especially in Troy. And so when you get to the 1838 Joseph Smith history that is canonized in our scriptures, has not been fixed by the Joseph Smith papers, which the Joseph Smith papers are not fixed in the first place. Royal Skousen is keeping in the errors, but at least providing links that require you to study to follow the links to see the corrected information. And so when you see Jesus in the Book of Mormon, you are not supposed to interpret it as Christian Jesus, per se. Because the Joseph Smith history in the first vision doesn't call himself Jesus. He doesn't say, this is Jesus Christ, my only begotten Son. And Jesus doesn't say, behold, I am Jesus Christ. Joseph calls him a personage and describes him as the sun at noonday. Did you do your research? That one's a little tough because you have to know Paleo-Hebrew. And I'm sure all of you have learned Paleo-Hebrew. Oh, it hadn't been deciphered until me? That's strange. Yeah, I had published the script, and because of the latter days, wasn't unable to carry on to publish the vocabulary and then translation examples. But I've been doing them in my videos for you. It's, in short, 2-letter vocabulary. Each script letter, character, is from an actual character and has independent meaning as a single letter. You combine those independent single letter meanings with others, you get other meanings combined. And then they had what's called adjectives, but determinatives is what they're technically called. There's what's called prefix determinatives to describe the 2-letter word with the combined meaning of both letters. And so for illustration, tree. Well, what kind of tree, Travis? Is it an oak tree, pine tree, redwood tree, Christmas tree? I need to add those extra words to describe tree. Ta-da! Prefix determinative. It's another character. Well, it's another character of the 22 characters, but describes in fuller detail the two-letter word or the one-letter word. There are examples of that, but that's the whole point. Each single letter has meaning, and when you combine it with others, the meaning gets expanded. Not too dissimilar from the Turkish language, which comes from the Persian language, which has full words that you keep adding words to it to expand the meaning, and it's a branch off variation from sentence structures of words that are separated from each other. But you know, missionaries who go there, and I knew one whose name was James Baker, he says that that's the Adamic language. But I would say it's the Egyptian. That's the obvious answer, because mankind came from Africa and they migrated into the Nile Valley, Egyptians, and that's where religion formed. Though there are elements prior to, but the actual formation of an organized religion is from Egypt, and all other religions to this current day are from the devolved migrating people out of Egypt. And I can go on to explain that in great detail and blah blah blah. But Joseph Smith in the first vision is talking about the Egyptian deity Amun, which in Paleo-Hebrew is composed in the name Isaiah gave the Christ after the learning of the Jews, as prophesied. Ezra Taft Benson telling us that Joseph Smith is going to be a fraud, and gave us the new prophecy that the government will not be saved in Washington. But that's another dark story. Emmanuel. Amun El, the god Amun. Not God with us, the god Amun of the Egyptians. It's right there in the spelling of Paleo-Hebrew. The prefix determinative is the universal symbol of the sun. And then M for high priest, N for king. N is also interesting because that's also used as a suffix determinative for people who are kings, and kingdoms for places. So that's what would be in the publication for vocabulary, explaining all that for you. Never got around to it. It's sort of the end of the world. There are more important things, though it would help you to know this so that I don't have to spend 15-16 minutes going over it to do a simple video for you about next week's Purim. And so if you do not understand the Christ of the learning of the Jews, that comes from Egyptian, that is not Jesus, created by Constantine at the first abominable creed of Constantine from the first vision. You've all studied your scriptures, right? Yeah, you're not going to go through a faith crisis when you learn the truth. Or you're supposed to have a faith crisis because you didn't learn the truth. And you live in denial and you get angry because of your denial. And you project and falsely accuse me of being a Korah whore or an antichrist or an apostate. These are what you do when you're living in denial of the truth. You put thumbs down on the video and run away. Oh, you're gone already? You didn't think my jokes were funny, huh? You argued about my presentation to justify not understanding the content. Because you're in denial of the truth. So you are just getting in my way. And heads up, guys, it gets worse for your faith crisis if you're brand new and you haven't been paying attention and you haven't been around for a year to hear me talk about it or watch the video 17th of March 1970 and what that all means. Because not only did Joseph Smith get told that our Christ is the Egyptian Christ, not the Christian Christ, we're also told through Joseph Smith and the Book of Mormon a little special surprise. I'm not going to refer to it. I'll refer to it, but I'm not going to go to it. It's that when Nephi comes to Joseph Smith talking about the Egyptian gold plates, and the reason why it's Nephi is because the 116 pages were rewritten with the name of Nephi. So now Nephi is writing in the Book of Mormon. Right? They claim the small plates, but I did the video the other day, in which 1st and 2nd Nephi. 1st Nephi is for Exodus Nephi. 2nd Nephi is for Promised Land Nephi. You notice that? Because you study your scriptures, you study the Book of Mormon, right? You know all this. So you've avoided a faith crisis. And so the first Nephi talked about is the founder of the Nephites. And then you get to 3rd Nephi, chapter 11, and Nephi, son of Nephi, is visited by Jesus from outer space. Not Jesus, right? Remember? It's Amun, sun god. But Nephi, son of Nephi, is given authority to lead the Nephites for a millennial reign of not even 200 years when they started being bad again. So it didn't quite make it to a millennium. And then Jesus says, give me the records of the history of the people. Where's the record of the name of God, the Lamanite? Remember Hebrew? Samuel, name of God. Who's the name of God? Amen. And why do we say Melchizedek priesthood instead of Amen priesthood? To avoid the too frequent repetition of the name of Amen. Not Jesus, Amen. It's the Amen priesthood. It's the Church of Amen Christ, not Jesus Christ. You've studied your scriptures, you already know all this stuff, right? The church is true because you've studied your scriptures. You're not in denial as a Mormon. You're not going through a faith crisis as an ex-Mormon. Right? And so Nephi comes to Joseph Smith, the founder of Mormonism, and talks about the latter days. To Joseph Smith, the founder of Mormonism, as Nephi talks about the latter days. Talks about the Book of Mormon, which talks about Nephi, the founder of the Nephites, and Nephi, son of Nephi, during their latter days. And one of those latter day scriptures is from Acts, which is the only one from the New Testament. And when we go to Acts, we see that they're referring to an Old Testament prophecy. What is Joseph Smith up to? Why is he making us study? Why doesn't he just give us the answers up front? Oh, somebody's trying to murder him, huh? Destroy the work. Section 10 of the Doctrine and Covenants. And so I've already done the videos for you. But in 2 Nephi chapter 3, Mormons think that the ancients prophesied of Joseph Smith. His name will be after Joseph of Egypt, and it will be after the name of his father. That passage. It's verse 15. And instead of prophet, and instead of Moses, it's Joseph talking about a seer. But there's a Samuel in the Old Testament, the name of God, who was sent to the temple run by God, Eli, who's responsible for coronating the Christ, Saul. And Saul fell because he thought it was better to sacrifice than obey. And then the name of God coronated as the Christ, David, the Goliath slayer with rocks in a sling rather than rocks in a hat, and struck him right between the eye, which is the third eye for seer, an Egyptian, the two eyes of Horus, who's the son of Osiris, who was murdered by Set, who in Paleo-Hebrew becomes King Set, which is Satan, who is the adversary. See, all scriptures need to be included here. Do you know how long of a video it will be to cover every single bit of important information for you in a tiny little living space? recognize him. Tragic death. Suicide. But nonetheless, yeah, the two eyes of Horus. Right eye for the sun, for government. Left eye, moon, for religion. Two eyes together are the Egyptian word PTR. No vowels, so we'll throw them in Peter. And it's translated as seer. So Joseph Smith translation, oh, seer. I wonder which language he got that from. Oh, the language of the Egyptians. 1 Nephi chapter 1, verse 2. And so in 3 Nephi chapter 1, Samuel the Lamanite had already been chased out by those Nephites who does not believe in the coming of the Christ. And they are saying that Samuel the Lamanite's signs in heaven will not come to pass. And in verse 9, now it came to pass that there was a day set apart by the unbelieving Nephites, that they don't believe in the Christ, that all those who believe in the Christ, which apparently is just me, because everybody else thinks it's Jesus. In those traditions, should be put to death. Oh, yeah, Mormons gave me a death threat for my birthday next week on March 17th. Purim. That's coincidental, isn't it? Do I need to go over section 103, verse 16? That goes to that Deuteronomic passage in chapter 18 from Acts, from Joseph Smith History of Nephi, giving gold plates, or talking about Egyptian gold plates with Joseph, talking about the latter days, and says that that Christ referred to in Deuteronomy 18 is that Christ, not Jesus. And so 2 Nephi chapter 3 verse 1, both Joseph and the man like Moses referred to in Deuteronomy, which Joseph Smith is told by Nephi is the Christ. So both Joseph and a future Mormon, section 103 verse 16, are the Christ of Mormonism. Not Jesus. Humans. Mortal parents, after the learning of the Jews regarding the Christ. Joseph Smith is our founding Christ. And he was preparing for the coming of the latter-day Mormon Christ. This is what the Book of Mormon is talking about, because it's not Jesus. except the sign should come to pass. Now, the sign that's talked about here is the wrong sign for what happens in the text, unless it's going to happen. Astronomers do tell us that it could happen any day, but they're expecting it around May 15th. Belteges. She's gonna blow! And the explosion is going to be so big, as seen from Earth, that there will be a day and a night and a day without a night. And we'll still see it during the day. That's how bright it's going to be. It'll be like a second sun. But that, they're predicting, won't happen until May. But there's another one on the birthday of the Christ, 17th of March, 1970. And it's the new star. It's mentioned in just a sentence passing. Dun, 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 dun. So there, 15 is the sun, there was no darkness. Dun, 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 dun. There it is, verse 21. And it came to pass also that a new star did appear according to the word. Now, when was this? Dun, 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 dun. Verse 10. Now it came to pass that when Nephi, the son of Nephi, saw this wickedness of his people, his heart was exceedingly sorrowful. And it came to pass that when he went out and bowed himself down upon the earth and cried mightily to his God. Which God? In behalf of his people, yea, those who were about to be destroyed because of their faith in the tradition of their fathers. And it came to pass that he cried mightily unto the Lord all that day, and behold, the voice of the Lord came unto him. The still small feeling, right? Because it says voice. Lift up your head, be of good cheer. For behold, the time is at hand, and on this night shall the sign be given. And on the morrow is the birthday, to show unto the world that I will fulfill all that which I have caused to be spoken by the mouth of my holy prophets. Jacob says everybody prophesied of this. And it's not Jesus, of Constantine. So have I rocked your world yet? Dun, 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 dun. It's amazing how Judas Priest has a song for every video occasion. So guess what's coming for next week? A new red nova is the astronomy technical term. It's a result of two suns that are going to collide and become one. Male and female give birth to baby. and I'll put these pictures in for you again. And the location is the palm, the left palm, of the cross of Cygnus, the goose or something like that. It's going to be appearing at the end of Cygnus, and it will be the brightest star in the sky after it blows, and this will be a permanent condition for the rest of our lives. And really, oh right, my other, bring them up. Let's see. Yeah, so this one, and this is the one I did the picture for you previously. It's a close-up of just the location of the goose Cygnus with the left wing where it is, and I'll put this in the video for it. Right there at the mouth of Draco, the Dracon. C and G are phonetically the same. Alpha, Beta, Gamma, A, B, C. So there's an interesting thing in the book of Revelation. Strange. That's about the latter days. In chapter 12, verse 4. And after talking about President Monson dying on 2nd January 2018, 10:01 in the evening, as the stars of heaven from the tail of Draco the dragon, the third part, were cast to the earth that night, the dragon is then standing before the woman which was ready to be delivered. But then another one, the dragon, is to devour her child as soon as it was born. Catching on yet? There's signs in the heavens, guys. But in Joseph Smith translation, for chapter or verse 1, sign and signs in heaven in the likeness of things on the earth. Don't just think that one sign is the only sign that has a likeness of the things on the earth. They all do. That's why we have scriptures, because they told stories prophesying of the latter days, of the signs of the latter days. So, sorry, Matthew, even you knew the day and the hour. Oopsies. There it is, right there. For the 17th of March, technically I guess it would be 16th, assuming that 3rd Nephi chapter 1 is correct, that it would be the night before the 17th, and thus the 16th in the evening. But we'll have to see. They're using the astronomy calculus math to determine when the time will be, and it's just a prediction. We have to wait until it actually happens to confirm or readjust the calculations. So, just like with May, we have to wait. It's the Betelgeuse armpit star that's going to blow and cause a day without a night and a night without a day, or something like that. A day and a night and a night, or a day and a night and a day without a night. But here it is in Revelation, and they're referring to it in 3rd Nephi chapter 1. And so guess what? 3rd Nephi chapter 1 is not literal history, and it's not about Jesus. Guess what? The Book of Mormon is not literal history, and it's not about Jesus. It's in the learning of the Jews. The Book of Mormon is apocalyptic literature, just like the Book of Revelation. Oh, the Book of Mormon even says, referred to the Book of Revelation for the rest of the story. Paul Harvey. Huh. Nephi's dream. Huh. And so, next week is Purim. And Purim refers to the story of Esther. And Esther comes from the Babylonian goddess, Mesopotamian goddess, Ishtar. And then Asheroth from the Canaanite deities, and Iset from the Egyptians. They're all devolved from the Egyptians. Isis is the original. The wife of Osiris, Asher, Aset, the wife. And Ephesians, it's Ephesians, right? Christ is the bridegroom of the church, which is the bride. You've heard of that? You studied your scriptures? And so Latter Days is the wedding supper feast of the Lamb at the temple on 8 April 2024. You studied your scriptures, you know all this. You're not having a faith crisis, you're not in denial. John in Revelation 19 tells us this. The story of Purim is about the Jews under the Persian captivity now. They've conquered Babylon, and now the Jews are under Persian control. And one of the Jews has the Mesopotamian goddess name, Ishtar, coming from Isis. She's female and is the representative for the Church of the Jews, now under the control of the Persian Empire. And so the Persian king, the Christ of the Persians, the Melchizedek of the Persians, obviously he's the false Christ of the great and abominable church, right? Because the Jews are the chosen ones of the one true church, right? All of these are, again, prophecies of the latter days. And there's a servant of the king who's a real bad dude and plots to murder the Jews with a weapon, a gallows to hang the Jews type of thing. And Mordecai learns of this plot, tells Esther, and because she's the new sister wife to the Persian king, because the first wife did not want to dance naked in public in front of the king and his fellow men, merry band of men, and so she quit. She divorced him, and so the king had Esther join his harem. And similar to Abraham and Sarah going to Egypt, and Abraham saying, "Tell them you're my sister." Oh, we need to do that for today, don't we? We need to do that video for Sunday. Joseph, the one who prophesied to be the name of the future founding Christ of Mormons, whose name will also be the name of his father, who is betrayed by Utah, phonetically the same as Judah. Jedi is Judah. He knows Hebrew. He's a Jew. That's why Amidala, handmaiden. And Sith Lords, Set, for Satan, the adversary. Understanding Hebrew is awesome now to watch Star Wars. And why are people wanting to be Sith Lords? Dear God, people are dumb and evil. Notwithstanding. And so, Ishtar, Isis, Esther, breaks protocol, risks her life, because you have to be called by the king to enter his presence. And so she's risking her life to save the Jews, and tells the king, "Let my people go." And the weapon that was built by the evil man to murder the Jews was used on him instead. Deuteronomy 19 about false accusers. The punishment is to be used on the false accuser. And so in the Book of Mormon, Laban falsely accuses Nephi and his sons of stealing the gold or the brass plates, and says, "I will kill you for stealing the brass plates." Well, they didn't steal the brass plates, and so the false accusation now gets the death penalty, because that's what he designated it to be. So I don't understand why they didn't mention this when Nephi was going through a mental torment about whether he should kill Laban or not. But he went through with it anyway and fulfilled Mosaic law. Mosaic law? But it's not the real Jesus. And so the Jews are saved. And that's the lesson of Purim, is that it's the hope that the enemy of the Jews will get their comeuppance. Is it comeuppance? Comeuppance? I guess it is. And so we're, as Mormons, looking forward to next week, because we're all studied up on our scriptures and we know everything. And next week is the sign in the heaven in 3rd Nephi chapter 1 of a new star. That would be cool if the day and the day without a night happened also. There'd be a problem though. We might not see the new star during the night. And so Yeah, maybe it'll be before, so that on the 16th we'll then see the new star, because the light from Betelgeuse will have died down by that point. But we'll have to wait and see. Yeah, for Purim, that's very interesting timing. And on the birthday of the Mormon Christ, wow, that's like super coincidental. And surely Mormons aren't wanting to murder Mormons, are they? Certainly that would not be the case during World War Z for zombie apocalypse. The Z on the Russian tanks and the Russian Olympian. And so, yeah, tragic. But the fuller picture, as we pan back, you'll still see the new star, where it'll be located in space, and the full moon for religion. New star, which is a sun, and it's a red sun. Judas Priest only has blood red skies. He doesn't have a blood red sun. But red is for blood and war. Oh, we're in World War III. Oh, that's another coincidence. And so the dragon is trying to murder the Mormon Christ. The false accusation at the pulpit of conference refers to section 122 of the Doctrine and Covenants, twisting it around for his purpose. When you are in perils among false brethren. Oh, false accusation, referring to perils. Oh, death is the punishment you have decreed for the Mormon Christ, is it? So the full moon, when it's full glory for religion, for the seer. See, eclipses are for death, collapse, fall, but in their full glory, the sun at noonday, the full moon, and the full moon is where? The head of the church. As the false Christ of the great and abominable church is trying to murder the true Latter-day Mormon Christ on his birthday. The full moon, in the sign in the heavens, in the likeness of things on the earth, is at the head of Virgo, the church. The Church of Ammon. And those little green things, and it's kind of blurry, I'm disappointed. Those are falling stars in Virgo, the church. falling stars in the church, with the full moon at the head of the church. Falling stars with the head of the church, who at the pulpit of conference gave a death threat to the Mormon Christ, like Laban to Nephi. Now, does that mean Nephi has the sword of Laban and is going to smite off his head? Actually, the sword of Laban is in the possession of the false Christ. Oh, right, it got sent back to Nephi. So it's not on the earth, and so therefore that's not supposed to be the interpretation. But it is prophesied. Deuteronomy 18, keep reading. There's the false prophet, after talking about the true prophet. And I'll let you do the work. Oh man, because we're at an hour. What happens to the false prophet for the latter days? According to Moses in Deuteronomy, which is technically the author of Deuteronomy during the Roman period, because it's apocalyptic literature like the book of Revelation. And then go to section 85 of the Doctrine and Covenants, verse 8. Lightning strikes. That's a Judas Priest song. How did Joseph Smith know? It's almost as if he knew his church would be usurped by a false Christ who would exalt himself above his station as president of missionaries to murder the founding Christ of Mormons and usurp his church and take them into the desert where it is prophesied he would try to do to deceive the Mormons. The Mormons should have said, no, we're not going with you into the desert. You are not our Christ. But they still called him the American Moses or the Mormon Moses. The man like Moses. And has been holding Mormons in bondage ever since. And Mormons need to be freed. The Exodus has already occurred for the Mormons in Ukraine. They've been chased out of their country. The men are dying in war. We have a major humanitarian crisis. Over 2 million, mostly women and children. How are they supposed to provide a living for themselves now? War collapses the economy. That's why we're not supposed to go to war. But a very evil man, since the false Christ who murdered the founding Christ of Mormonism, is going all out and is threatening nukes, which is why he's not concerned about the loss of his Russian soldiers. And so your cost of living is going up. I hope you have already gotten your supplies of food, toilet paper. I can't. Church financially destroyed me. I have to make do with what I have for as long as I can. But gas prices have already gone up, and other costs are going to go up too. Are you prepared? I know you got drained with that 2-year thing, as Nelson is trying to murder you. Not just me. Anybody who's a sucker and a loser who listens to him because you're in denial about the learning of the Jews and the Christ after the learning of the Jews. You're looking for another Christ who did not come for the Ukrainian Mormons to save them. So do you think he's going to come to save you, Mormons? Well, let's talk about what the actual Christ of Mormonism is supposed to do for you in the latter days. Because he's supposed to have magical powers, right? Supernatural strength. He'll do all the work himself. He'll be awesome, and we'll know him by his magic. Right? Wrong. Verse 15, Deuteronomy 18. The Lord thy God will raise up unto thee a prophet. Joseph Smith says that's our Christ, the Mormon, future Mormon, who will be endowed in the great and abominable churches, Los Angeles Temple, whose parents, the name of the mother would be Judith, the name of the father is Wagoneer Sun God, from the English British Druids who developed the folklore prophecy of the latter days of St. Patrick, battling serpents that didn't exist. Yeah, they made the story up to prophesy of one through their descendancy, as those British Druids were sun gods, high priest sun gods of the sun god, through whom the future sun god would come from and turn the death date of St. Patrick into the birth date of their sun god, March 17th. Everybody knows all this stuff, except for the great and abominable church has been blinding the minds of the Mormons, so that Mormons are in denial and commit crimes and violence towards unbelievers of their denials, and the ex-Mormons are those who have the faith crisis because they didn't study, because of the blindness of the church. Him shall ye hearken. So it's not just listen, you're actually supposed to follow him, so that when he tells you, do you have your supply for what's coming, when he tells you to follow the medical professionals, that you hearken to him. Or did you hearken to the false Christ of the great and abominable church and go to church, which is a super spreader? Even though a certain thing that's still called a pandemic is still a pandemic, but is going way down, but our governor told us he's purposely covering up the real stats, so we can't really trust him. We should be trusting the medical professionals the whole time, as I've been telling you the whole time, despite having Travis Wayne Goodsell shut down because of the false accusation of YouTube. To protect the church, who paid for this war that I've been warning this whole time. A major city yet to be determined in Russia. verse 18. I will raise them up a prophet from among their brethren, like unto thee, and will put my words in his mouth, and he shall speak unto them all that I shall command him. And this is where Acts and Joseph Smith are different than this. Verse 19, and it shall come to pass that whosoever will not hearken unto my words which he shall speak in my name. What name? The false Christ of the great and abominable church uses the name Jesus Christ and did a whole conference talk explaining that it has to be Jesus. So what name are you supposed to be looking for, Mormons? I will require it of him. Acts uses something different than Joseph Smith, who says cut off. So I wonder if the 1769 King James Version had cut off, and that this version that we use uses shall be destroyed from among the people. So, are you wanting to study your scriptures? It's sort of crunch time. You have to cram for the latter days now. It's almost like deathbed repentance. I mean, granted, we have an unknown period of time, but better late than never if you're saved. Right? Or do you want to keep living in denial, getting angry with me, wanting to murder me on my birthday, fulfilling the Book of Mormon prophecy?